Welcome into the Starting Five podcast. It is season 4, episode 1. We're a little behind. I'm behind. Can you blame me? You guys are used to this by now, but we're getting ready as we kick off this 2025-26 season here on the Starting Five, brought to you by Town and Country Federal Credit Union, or I should say presented by Town and Country Federal Credit Union, of course, brought to you by Big Time Hoops. Big thank you as well to Central Maine Community College in Auburn. They offer over 40 degrees and certificate programs designed for high-demand careers or seamless transfer to four-year colleges and universities. At CMCC, students thrive in a vibrant campus community with a national championship athletic program and a strong tradition of athletes earning scholarships to compete at the NCAA Division I, II, and NAIA programs, and continuing their athletic careers at competitive NCAA Division III colleges. Big shout out to CMCC there. Learn more at cmcc.com.edu. And that's where we're going to start here on the Starting Five. Normally, we talk a lot of high school sports, we talk a lot of college sports, but today we're leading off with college sports, and our guest today, who we're going to talk a lot of high school sports with about after the Starting Five topic where we just talk college hoops, is our good friend Trophymode. Trophy, my man, thank you for joining me on the opening episode here on Season 4. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Best time of the year, basketball season. Thanks for having me on the air, Taylor.
No problem, dude. I just had to move that monitor. I was like talking to your chest for a second, but now I can see your beautiful smile, and we're ready to go, Trophy. So appreciate you coming in. We're going to start with some of the college stuff. Obviously, the college stuff took over a lot of my segment here last year, and really in the Starting Five, we're going to incorporate high school, of course, throughout this portion. But this week, we wanted to start, since Trophy's going to get us caught up on all things Southern Maine high school sports. I got you guys with the leadoff Starting Five. All 5 topics are college-related, so we're going to get to after that. Let's start with the CMCC Game of the Week. Trophy, you were at it. It was the SMCC Seawolves heading up to Auburn to take on the CMCC Mustangs. We'll start with the women, where we always seem to start when it comes to dominance in Maine women's basketball. You look at CMCC, they're the top-ranked Mustangs. They hit the road, they hosted SMCC, and it kind of felt like after what looked like on at least the stat sheet, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts, what maybe felt like a sluggish first quarter really blew into a game that was all CMCC. They shot 71% in that second quarter, forced 9 turnovers, and completely flipped the energy of the game. Ava Smith was a perfect 10 of her 12 points coming in that second quarter on 5 of 5 shooting, and Gabby Tibbetts came off the bench and was everywhere, 18 points. She also took 4 charges, which honestly might tell you more about CM's identity than the scoring. The fact she's out there taking charges like that. What did you see, my man, up there on the women's side of things when you were covering our Game of the Week this past week?
Yeah, I think CMC just comes at you in waves. I mean, I think Andrew Morong recruits that way. He wants to fill out his roster, and he wants to play a lot of people. I think I've heard him on your show talking about that, and that his goal is to just be in better shape, outrun, outperform people, having the stamina, but also having the bodies to throw at you, so he can constantly have that high energy play. He was just pressuring the CM guards. Eventually, it led to turnovers. It was a sluggish start, but I think they just wore CMCC down and had more energy, and that hit him like a tidal wave, and they just blew the game open by the end. Didn't feel like they would have 90-some points on the board at the start of the game, but that's where we ended up.
94-64, and you mentioned it wasn't enough. They followed it up Saturday, by the way, by dropping 125 points on Word of Life, setting multiple program records the next time out. They're 10-0 and look every bit like the juggernaut we expected, Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, when you have that many good players, when you can rotate that many guys or girls into the game, like even if somebody has an off night, you're going to get a great night out of 1, 2, 3 other people, and that's what they've been getting.
Well, and going to the men's rivalry game, which was also there in our doubleheader for the CMCC Game of the Week. It was a grind, a brawl, a classic, if you will, between these two. The gym was packed, both crowds loud. Every possession seemed to matter when you looked at how it played out. CMCC did come away with a 65-63 win, extending their streak to a time at 10 straight and staying perfect in conference play. SMCC did jump out to an early lead, but CM starters came back in and ripped a 24-6 6 run that completely flipped momentum. The Mustangs' front court depth and size took over in the paint, 46-20 edges inside, and they out-rebound CMCC 46-38. The player that stood out to me, at least from the box score, I'm interested to see who stood out to you in person, Trophy, was Crady Dixon. He had a steady hand with 20 points in that game. Shout out to CMCC as well. They held SMCC to just 32% shooting and forced 19 turnovers, and you could hear it in Gagne's voice afterwards. I saw the quotes from him on CMCC's website. He seemed pretty happy with the performance from his lads.
Yeah, Crady is a player that we've of course seen at Wyndham. He was a Mr. Basketball semifinalist. Has won the last two gold balls with Wyndham in AA. He's a freshman at CMCC, and he had one of the most efficient games that you can have. 7 for 9 from the floor, 3 for 5 from 3. Didn't turn the ball over. So as a coach, that's a dream to have a freshman come in that's going to play major minutes, not turn the ball over, and score efficiently. I think that SMCC was probably looking to shut down some of the other players on the scouting report. Will Duke's been playing really well for CMCC. He's a Camden Hills graduate. So it was just big for Crady to be in there and step up and kind of fill in where SM was trying to take away some of the other players. And help get that win for the Mustangs.
We'll again talk about the other CMCC game of the week that Trophy and I are going to be around and talking about next week as well at the end as the 5th topic here on the starting 5. But that first topic, CMCC, SMCC, a Mustangs sweep up there for our game of the week. So congrats to the Mustangs in winning the rivalry. Well, Trophy, though, from one rivalry to another as we go into the second topic. Bates and Bowdoin gave us maybe the game of the year on the women's side already. Bowdoin ranked 6th in the country, went to Alumni Gym, and Bates punched right back. Sarah Hughes delivered the moment everyone is talking about right now. Half court at the buzzer to force double overtime. It was absolute chaos. I actually have the broadcast call for us to hear right now, Trophy. Are you ready to enjoy the final call there from Bates as they were able to win an exciting one? This is Sarah Hughes forcing overtime against them from the half court. You ready for this one?
Let's roll.
I think this is Aaron Morris. If it is, this is my guy. Absolute electric Gus Edwards energy on this broadcast call. Let's hear it.
She misses. Bates can tie it with a 3. They gotta hurry though. Hughes gotta shoot it now for the tie. Oh, we did it! We're going to double overtime. Are you kidding me? From half court. Oh my goodness! Sarah Hughes from the parking lot, from across the county. Oh my goodness gracious!
And that was the call that was posted on the Go Bates Bobcats and Bates Women's Basketball Instagram page. Trophy, that is electric. By the way, Bates ultimately fell 77-70, but they competed at an incredibly high level, and that one is an electric soundbite for everybody to enjoy on the first episode of the Starting 5. What a great way to kick off the college season between two rivals, CMCC and SMCC, Bates and Bowdoin. Some memorable matchups early.
I mean, the type of games that you love to see, the type of games that get people to come back out when people want to experience that type of energy in the gym, and the announcer certainly captured that.
Oh, that was electric. And again, credit Bates. I got to double check. I think it's Aaron Morris. Sorry for not giving proper credit. I'll message him and he can get on my ass for that one. But that is an electric. Like, Gus Edwards from the college football. He is literally like, that's all I could think about when I heard that one. On the men's side, though, game wasn't nearly as high scoring, but it was every bit as intense. Bates beat Bowdoin on the road 54-50 to move to 7-0, matching their best start, Trophy, since the Sweet 16 team back in 2014-2015. It was a defensive rock fight. Bates only shot 29%. Bowdoin wasn't much better, but the Bobcats did find answers late. You look at a guy like Peter Hodges, who was calm, cool, collected from the free throw line down the stretch, and Jamari Robertson as well, an X-factor, giving 15 points off the bench. So we'll see where that goes. 7-0, they're deep, and they're defending like a team that's maybe going to be a problem in the NESCAC this year. It'll be interesting to see what Bates does, but Peter Hodges now a little bit of a crafty vet in the NESCAC, and I remember we were watching him at Yarmouth and the dominant force he was, and here he is now. It feels like this is maybe his year there for Bates and that team to really take a big step.
Yeah, I love the Bates roster. They've got a bunch of Maine kids. They have Brady Coyne from Falmouth. They have David Omasambo and Shawer Mayan from Lewiston, of course, and Peter. has been performing and is now one of the big vets on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do in the NESCAC.
And a quick update as well from the Husson women's basketball program. Saige Evans, former Old Town standout. We got to talk about them. Husson's off to a strong start, and a huge part of that is Saige Evans. She's been borderline unstoppable early on, scoring it efficiently, rebounding, defending, doing everything they need from really a number one option. And you look at it, she won the NAC Women's Player of the Week 2 weeks ago, and what really jumps out about steady she's wasted no movement. She's been playing through contact. She gets to her spot, and she's been giving them a dependable 18 to 20 a night. When you look at the presence that she's been able to keep there in the NAC, you have to wonder if maybe Saige Evans, who's again a standout from Old Town, Maine, could be in the conversation for an NAC Player of the Year when it's all said and done. Husson are 4-1 right now and off to a pretty good start. We'll see how they do when they go out there next, but wanted to highlight Saige Evans because she was a name that I heard a lot on with Tom and Steve and watching the Northern Maine games on WHOU.live. She was one of Old Town's best, and to see her carrying it over into the NAC with the Husson women's basketball team and getting them off to a 4-1 start is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we need the coverage that Tom and Steve are giving up there in Northern Maine. The Southern Maine kids in the bigger communities get a lot of love in the media, but they're bringing attention to those kids up there, and that's how we know her name, and that's how we know to look out for her in the college ranks.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're able now to bring you guys this college coverage to keep it going, because her and Husson now, there's something to watch, and trust me, we're not even scratching the surface on some of these other programs. Final topic before we hit the game of the week real quick. Cash McClure closing in on 1,000 points. And also his 500th rebound in college. He is 1 away from 1K right now at Bentley. He's also 16 rebounds away from 500. And I think that's one of the more impressive things. We've had him on the show. We've covered him a lot since he was obviously at Maranacook. And Cash is now on the doorstep of joining that elite 1,000-point, 500 rebound club at Bentley. And it's not something that you just luck into. I think that shows his consistency, his growth. And honestly, I think it's validation, right? It's validation that he's probably one of the better players to come out of the state of Maine and play in the collegiate ranks no matter what division 1 through 3 that you look at. And I remember we watched him a lot in high school. The versatility, the ability to score, the athleticism was always there. And now here he is right now on kind of the cusp of hitting a milestone that's extremely cool. And obviously winning's important, I think, too, but he's become a reliable, mature piece for that program. And honestly, it's been one of the best Maine-born players, I think, in the D2 ranks over the last few years. And hey, he plays tonight, and he's definitely getting that 1,000th point, I'll tell you that. So congrats to Cash McClure, straight out of Maine, getting his 1,000th point. And let's be honest, in a couple weeks, we'll probably be talking about that 500th rebound and joining some elite club there at Bentley.
Absolutely, and it's unfortunate that Maine fans didn't really get to see his senior year. It was the COVID year.
That's right.
So he was kind of in a lockdown situation where fans weren't really seeing Maranacook play in Central Maine. And he was putting up 30-point triple-doubles, but people weren't able to be in the gym necessarily to see that. So people in Maine aren't necessarily going to remember some of his greatest feats on the court competitively, although he was in the state championship game as a junior. I did get to go to that game in Bangor. But he's a phenomenal worker, somebody that has always really relied on his work ethic and the time that he puts in during the summer to have big winters on the court. And it's great to see him performing like this.
Oh, it's incredible, man. Credit as well to his father, who got in touch with Tom and I to kind of give us this. I had no idea he was close to this milestone, but to see him now on this cusp is awesome. Congrats, Cash. I've interviewed him a bunch, I feel like, on this show. I've talked to him like twice, and he's just like a great kid. I know he's got a couple of NIL stuff going on too. He just really works in the community. So good person, man. Easy person to root for. Happy for everybody up there. I think they call it the Bears Den that travels down there to cheer for him too. So they're probably excited. Let's talk about the game of the week, though, before we flip it and get into the conversation and why I really got you in here, which is to talk about this high school scene and the opening weekend in Southern Maine. UMF and USM are playing tomorrow. The men are getting after it. The women are getting after it. That seems like a fun one that you're going to be right on site for and getting plenty of highlights to go right on Big Time Hoops' Instagram page for everybody who's listening to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, UMF's the alma mater, but I've lived down here in Southern Maine for about a decade now. Caught the St. Joe's USM men's game as our first game of the week, which was a great battle. UMF came, St. Joe's came back and sent that game to overtime after USM led by quite a bit early. Looking forward to a great matchup. We got plenty of Maine kids. They're doing great things on both sides of both sides of the court there.
Look forward to seeing your coverage of that again. Go to Big Time Hoops Instagram page for that. And again, the game of the week is brought to you by the CMCC Mustangs. And we really appreciate everything they do for us. And of course, in Town and Country Federal Credit Union as well, for being the presenting sponsor of this podcast that allows me to come in here and chop it up ball with my boy Trophy and everybody else who's out there. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get into a little bit of Southern Maine Hoops high school talk. Trophy was all over the place this weekend, this summer, this spring. I mean, geez, you were all over it, man. So we're going to get your thoughts on what's coming in Southern Maine this year and, of course, the opening weekend that had some amazing, dramatic finishes across the state of Maine. Stay tuned on the Starting Five podcast presented by Town and Country Federal Credit Union and brought to you by Big Time Hoops. Welcome back into the Big Time Hoops Starting Five podcast presented by Town and Country Federal Credit Union and brought to you by Big Time Hoops. Shout out to Tom Bard and everybody involved up there. We got our guy Trophy on, and Trophy, last weekend, opening weekend, especially here at Southern Maine, was exciting. You had Portland and Deering, one of the best rivalries in the state at the Portland Expo. And then after that, we also had a little bit in the city as well. South Portland versus Cheverus, which came down to a buzzer-beating win for the Red Riots at Cheverus. What a 2 games to kind of open things up. Take us through what you saw right up close and personal on opening night.
Yeah, started out at the Expo for the rivalry game. Kind of crazy that they started the season off with Deering at Portland. I feel like a lot of times that's during the holiday season and then kind of like at the very tail end, maybe on the last day of the season. So kind of crazy that they had that, but nice way to see both teams and what they have going. A lot of youth on both sides, but Portland is looking to be one of the top teams in the state this year. They've got a lot of veteran talent as well, mixed with the youth. They've got some size in Benilson Lumani. They've got some scoring in Lucas Legage. They've got defense in Loic Ramazani and Ephraim Lasecco. And they've got some, other experienced guards like Maddox Mees. And you've got Cordell Jones, the Gatorade Football Player of the Year, who's out with an injury but should be returning at some point this year. And they really controlled the game right from the tip. Deering made a little run in the middle of the game, second quarter. But you never really felt like the Bulldogs weren't in control. Russo played everybody up and down the roster. Some nice minutes from Rayan Mohammed from Deering and Michelle Butera. And they should get on track. It's just a tough matchup on opening night for the Rams.
Yeah, and Butera's been around for a while. I know he's been getting big minutes with that program since he was young. Do you think he's looking like he's ready to really step into that role and be kind of the guy for Deering this year?
Absolutely. He's fighting through a hand injury right now, which is, I think, affecting some of his finishing. It's on his shooting hand. I'm hoping that will heal up, and obviously he's hoping that will heal up throughout the season. But he's a great ball handler. He's going to put rim pressure on. He's going to make some shots in the perimeter, and he's going to defend and compete. So he's definitely the leader for the Rams this year.
Yeah, and looking at Portland, Loic is, to me, one of the players on defense that can change a game with just how tenacious he is. It feels like if Portland can really kind of use their speed and try to utilize some of the stuff they have, they could be one of the teams that I don't think many people are talking about maybe as contending, but do you see Portland as maybe a dark horse here in the South after what you saw night one?
Absolutely. I think they have the bodies and the depth to be able to do that, and they're definitely one of the most athletic teams. I feel like if they use pressure to their advantage and really get up and down and run in the way that we haven't seen Portland teams do recently, that could really play to their advantage against most teams, especially with their depth and athleticism. So, we'll see. But they do have some half-court scoring. Legage really can shoot it. He hit 5 threes on opening night. They did get some transition buckets off their defense, but I really feel like they can ramp that up throughout the season.
Yeah, and then I'm with you. I'm excited to see how both those teams go within Portland. And heading over to Cheverus, I mean, right, that was right here in the city as well. A lot of going on. And that game was unbelievable. I want to start because there is a lot of there's a veteran presence on both these Cheverus and South Portland teams, but I kind of want to start with the youth movement because with both what you have in Cheverus and in South Portland, there is a lot of excitement with the freshman classes, and we saw it all on display, especially with Johnson, I believe, scoring 14, and then Lionel Despacho as well, making his debut, which I can't wait to talk about this kid. I love this kid, Lionel. I mean, I think he's really fun to watch, and to see it all finally all coming together here on the Maine high school basketball scene is exciting, and you got to see it up close and personal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lionel set the gym on fire in the first half. He had 14 points. He had, hit 4 threes. Wow. And had a nice little deceleration layup at the rim in the teeth of the Cheverus defense, and really got South Portland going in the first half. They were trailing at halftime, and he had most of the offense. Cheverus is showing a 2-3 defense this year, and I think that was kind of put out there to slow down Darius Johnson, who's one of the senior leaders for South Portland and one of the best athletes in the state. Jameson Fitzpatrick in the middle of that for Cheverus, really trying to hold Darius down and keep him off the scoreboard. But Lionel, as a freshman in his first varsity game, hitting 4 threes in the first half was electric.
That's unreal, and I got to commend that kid because I've noticed he does a really, really good job at building his brand. But one thing that I love, because I was watching Michael Jordan talk about this on the NBC broadcast about building your brand, but also keeping the part of basketball in perspective too. And I think he does such a good job at balancing it. He's a great example for, I think, young athletes who want to do podcasting and be a part of that world, and also can find the balance in being successful on the court, because to me, he has the yin and yang with that. And it's not often you see kids at his age be able to balance some of those things as well as he does. And again, to see him perform like that, I'm very excited for him and that South Portland team to see what they become, because I think there's just the beginning of them. And I know it took a buzzer beater, and man, they almost turned that over at the end too. Like the ball magically went to Darius Johnson's hands at that one to go in, bro. That was crazy popping around. But it does feel like South Portland, this is the tip of the iceberg, and they have a lot of potential this year.
Yeah, Gabe Jackson has been around. He's been through the battles. He was in the state championship game where they narrowly lost to Wyndham last year in AA finals. He had a slow start to the game, but I believe he had 14 or 16 points in the fourth quarter. I know he had like about 9 straight in a run where Cheverus was up 14, I believe, in the fourth quarter, and in a matter of minutes, it felt like it was a 2 to 4 point game because of Gabe Jackson's work. And he was in the middle of that 2-3 zone, kind of hitting floaters, finding the gaps in the perimeter, hitting threes. He's a great defender. He's going to be matched up on most teams' best offensive players on the perimeter. And, you know, he's showing the type of leadership that it takes to get back to the promised land, which Coach Millington has had them a bunch of times in recent years.
Yeah, and again, on the other side of this, Cheverus played a really good game. First impressions of the Stags under, of course, Coach Richie Ashley, who's once again got a fully loaded arsenal with the Stags roster. I mean, no surprise, it feels like every year, even if they're graduating Leo McNabb, it's reload and kind of refocus for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cheverus played really well. I mean, as I said, they were up 14 in the fourth quarter. Kind of seemed like they had this game in hand, and then all of a sudden, you know, Sopo made their run. But, you know, I feel like Cheverus will use this as a learning opportunity. AJ Latour is playing a lot of point guard, which is last year he was a 6-man type of role, utility guy, came in and off the bench, and he's got kind of the ball in his hands a lot, leading this Cheverus offense. And it was a tough fourth quarter, but he hit 3 threes. He was in double figures with 11 scoring. You know, Jameson had 12, really manning the inside, giving them an interior presence. Colton Jewett, who's a transfer from Gorham, who had a really nice football season for the Stags, had 10 points on had a really efficient game, hit a couple threes. He'll provide some perimeter scoring for them. And then, of course, you had the freshman, Kalon Watkins.
Kalon is, what do we make of him? I mean, he just seems like, I was seeing some of the highlights. He seems like he's going to give them a real chance this year. And again, we talk about this loaded freshman class, like to see him and Lionel right there go head to head. I mean, it felt like those two are kind of some of the headliners. There's many headliners, but there are two of them. And to see both of them step up the way they did as freshmen was so impressive, especially as the names you've mentioned already from both teams, like the senior and upperclassmen leadership. We still see this youth is going to have to be injected into both teams for them to be successful.
Yeah, Kalon was tremendous right from the start. I think he had 4 dunks, hit a 3 early, which his perimeter game has been something that's been developing. So it was nice to see him hit his first 3. Had a chase down block like LeBron style, coming down and just pinning a shot that seemed like a layup off the backboard, and just constantly gives kind of like the spark plays that will have the Stags going on runs, and keep the energy high in their student section, especially for home games. But he's playing with confidence that you don't usually see from a 14-year-old kid playing in his first high school game. I mean, he was taking it at the rim, taking it at defenders. Some of the best older players in the state, Gabe Jackson, Darius Johnson, on the South Portland side of the ball, and it didn't seem to faze him at all. Finished with 17 points and had a lot of highlight plays in his first high school.
What do you think about his game stands out to you most about what about his game is going to make him, you think, the most successful this year in this really difficult SMAA?
Just his athleticism, his length. He's 6'3", with a 6'10" wingspan. So having a +7 wingspan is like puts you in, I don't know what percentile that would be, but
right.
It's right up there.
Yeah, I was going to say small percentage, right?
But just his ability to make those defensive plays, whether he's in man, whether he's at the top of the 2-3, getting out in transition, blocking shots. Defensively, for a freshman, he's a type of kid that I would put on a top scorer and trust him to make an impact in slowing that kid down. So it's really just the length and athleticism and his focus. He's been in a lot of competitive situations prior to high school, and I think that's paying dividends now.
Yeah, and I'm interested, too, just now to kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture here with the time we have left. What is your expectation of this A South this year? There's no double A anymore. We've reverted back to the old way. It is as competitive as ever in both regions, north and south of A. What stands out to you right now? Who are some players you're watching and maybe some teams as well, Trophy, as we get into really the start of this 2025-2026 high school basketball season?
Yeah, Taylor, it's just a loaded situation this year. I'm so glad that they decided to do the reclassification and realignment. Going from the old format where it was about 7 teams in each side of AA. There wasn't even a quarterfinal if you finished first. There was a 1 versus 7. You could have 1 win, 0 wins, and be in a quarterfinal situation against a 2 seed. Wasn't competitive. It was kind of like a free ride to the semis for a couple teams every year. And that's not what tournament basketball should be about. So I feel like now we probably have 8 contenders in the South that I could, if you ask me, is it possible for this team to come out of the South? I would say yes. And that's a great situation for Maine basketball fans. It's a great situation for the kids because they have to go through the season knowing like each of these games matters to either making the tournament or seeding. That's going to play a role in us being successful in the come tournament season.
We've talked a lot about 4 of the teams already. I want to ask a little bit about like the TAs, the Sanfords, who I know you're going to get a look at this week. What stands out about some of the other teams outside of the Big 4 maybe that we've talked about, and who outside of the 4 we've talked about stands out to you as someone who is a competitor to come out of the South?
I mean, obviously Wyndham. I mean, we got back-to-back state.
I feel like we buried the lead, not even mentioning them yet. Like they're coming back with like the full. I mean, they got the arsenal back. They're probably sitting there going, "Trophy Taylor, why haven't you even mentioned us yet?"
Yeah, absolutely. Like they have the big 3. They've got Tyree James, Colin Janovan, and AJ Moody, and these guys have been through the wars. I mean, they're the top of the top in terms of talent and experience in Maine. They've got Chad Pulkinen, the whole staff back that have been through the battles. And they opened the season with a 73-71 win over TA, where Tyree James had 33 points, Colin had 19, AJ had 10, and doing all the little things that he does, all the connective things, the defense, the talking, the leadership that really brings this all together. And they've got some young players that are stepping into the roles that were vacated by Quentin Lindsay and a few other players for the team last year that helped them win that state title. But I think they've got all the pieces, and everybody, no doubt, will be coming at them, giving them their best shot every night, and I think that'll be good for them in the end to have so many competitive battles.
Yeah, I'm with you. And just keeping it on the boys' side as well, who are some names that maybe aren't household yet, like the Gabe Jacksons and things like that you're looking forward to maybe emerging on the scenes? I know even like the guys like the Colin Hamiltons, I'm wondering if we'll start to talk about a little bit more this year.
Yeah, Liam Hamilton.
Excuse me, Liam. I apologize.
Yeah, Liam Hamilton.
Oh, I thought Colin.
That Colin's his dad, but
there it is. That's why I came from. There it is.
But Liam, at TA, Simon Gellis and Deshaun Alston are definitely going to put up big numbers. I mean, they only lost by 2 at home to Wyndham on opening night, so they should be right in the mix. Mike Nelson has a great defense. Had them as the number 1 seed last year, so there's definitely reason to believe in them competing for a top spot going into the tournament this year. You've got Sanford, who has new coach John Morgan, who I'm going to see tonight.
That's right.
Who I'm going to see against Wyndham. Luke Gendron, a sophomore guard, and Dylan Jenner, a senior, his brother. are going to lead that offense. They'll put up huge numbers every night. As we saw with Coach Morgan at Noble, really loves to push the pace, really gives his players freedom, and that makes it so hard to defend because they're always on the attack and the ball's always moving at a breakneck pace.
And I noticed one team we haven't mentioned either is those Falmouth Navigators. I feel like they're a little bit like a Cheverus team just with Dave Halligan that's usually in the mix. Do we expect a team like them, a Bonnie Eagle maybe, to be in the mix here, Trophy, at some point? Can they make some noise in this really difficult Class A? And you mentioned Noble. I mean, we haven't talked about Scarborough either. I mean, do you think these teams are going to have a place around some of these juggernauts that we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the good thing about having this many teams is there's different teams with different strengths. I think Bonnie Eagle is a team that I definitely think can be a factor. They've got 6'10" Max Bouchard in the middle, who's an absolute monster, has improved so much throughout the last year, and he's definitely going to be an impact player. They've got senior guard Colin Moran, then they got shooting around him. Kids like Logan Sturgis had double figures in one of the preseason games that I saw. Benedito No really provides some defense for them, and you've got Deering, can I think play a role by the end of the season with new coach Rich Henry. Falmouth is kind of down this year. They went to the state championship last year. They lost Davis Mann, who's racking up Rookie of the Week awards for St. Joe's.
Dude, he's and I don't know how he's really tough to replace. We were talking about that state final. I mean, that whole playoff run for him is one of the most legendary playoff runs I've seen in person here in the state of Maine recently.
Absolutely put them on his back, and now he's having to do the same a little bit for St. Joe's with all the injuries they have, unfortunately, but hopefully they'll get back on track.
We'll definitely be covering the Monks, too, as the season goes on this podcast. I'm excited for their season this year.
Scarborough has the shooting. Talk about Bonnie Eagle having a big man. Scarborough's strength is that they got shooters all over the place. So when you have that level of shooting with Adam Fitzgerald, with Carter Blanche, with McDonald, and some of the other players they have, you can put up points in a hurry. You're never out of a game. So, Coach Conley has a lot of weapons at his disposal at Scarborough. And there's other teams, too. I mean, the thing that I can say about this year is, Westbrook could even be in the mix. They haven't played a game yet. They're one of the few teams in the state that hasn't played a game. But they have athletes all over the place. They have new coach Jim Seavey, who's got tons of experience around the state, college and high school level at the helm. And I think that they could play not only a spoiler, they could just be considered straight up a contender in A this year.
That'd be really fun to see, and I love how you brought them up because they're fresh off that Class B football state championship. They just brought the trophy back home for the first time to Westbrook in that sport. I know basketball is a little bit more of a rich history for them. That would be really cool to see them build off the momentum from the fall and carry it into the winter. And let's not pretend like we haven't seen that before either. As we wrap, because I know we spent a lot of time on A South, and by the way, the girls we will get into a little bit more next week when Michael Hoffer gets on here, so don't be mad at either of us. We will make sure the girls get their due as well. But Class B South, looking at them, right, Oceanside, Gray New Gloucester, Freeport, Cape Elizabeth, Greeley, obviously one of the big ones there. Lake Region, you have Leavitt, Lincoln Academy, Marshwood, Madomic Valley, Yarmouth, and York. Any insiders there? Did you see anyone that stood out to you throughout that Class B South region? I know that's right in our neck of the woods as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw York in the preseason against Bonnie Eagle. Reese McDonald will be one of the biggest scorers. I mean, you'll see some absolute monster nights from him. Just knows how to put the ball in the basket. Has kind of like an old school game, uses pivot foot a lot, will score in the post, will score in the mid-range, can hit the three. A lot of at least the local D3 colleges are all over him, hoping that he comes to their neck of the woods and attends school with them. Madomic is always in the mix in B. Mason Wynn is a monster player. He just committed to University of Maine at Farmington. He's going to have some big numbers. I think he had 24 in his first game. They've got another deep roster. And Leavitt, with Coach Mike Hathaway, should be in the mix. They have one of the better juniors in the state in Colin Schlobum. They've got a nice mix of young players around him. And, with Mike's experience in football and basketball, I just love his approach and his way of getting the most out of kids.
Well, Trophy, I appreciate you coming on here. This episode 1, a quick one. For those wondering, I know we used to go like an hour and 20. We're not doing that anymore this year. We're going to keep it 30 minutes so you can listen to all this on your drive and get all you need to know about the high school sports scene down here in the Southern Maine area and college, too, as you notice. We'll be covering it all this year. Trophy, man, I hope people see you on the sidelines. If they do, I hope they give you all the love you deserve. You do so much for the sport here in the state, whether it be coaching on the sidelines or getting the kids the exposure they need, or getting their point totals, which we know is another endeavor you're on now. If you want to maybe touch on that, you don't have to, but if you want to touch on that, you can shout that out too. But I really appreciate you coming on and kind of educating me and getting us set up here in Southern Maine for what to watch for and some names to look forward to as we kick the season off, man.
Thanks, Taylor. It's just my passion. I've been involved in basketball for a long time. And just since I came down to Southern Maine, just trying to find ways to promote the game and the kids, give them the best opportunities they can. As far as the stats thing, I did start a new Instagram page that I'll be moving onto other platforms as well, but it's just trying to track every statistical event that happens for Maine high school basketball players this season. And if anybody wants to help out with that, coaches, players, just getting me the info, we'll be able to put you on and celebrate you for the feats that you have this season.
Please reach out, get in touch with us. Trophymode, thanks for the insight, bro. I'm sure we'll talk to you again as the season goes on when we catch up, and enjoy the games this week that you're covering.
Thanks, Taylor. I can't wait to be in the gym tonight.
Trophymode again. I'm Taylor Mannix. Until next week, this was the Starting Five podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union and brought to you by Big Time Hoops. Thanks to CMCC as well, and look out for the CMCC Game of the Week on Big Time Hoops Instagram page at Big Time Hoops Maine. Stay tuned for more Starting Five as the season comes along. We'll be back next Monday. Stay tuned again and check out all action on Big Time Hoops website or Instagram page to follow along as the Maine high school hoop season kicks off officially throughout the week.